From Oprah to over 2 million dates and over 10,000 marriages. If we haven't met before, I'm Andrea McGinty, founder of It's Just Lunch and the creator of 33,000 Dates. Let me tell you, after watching thousands of people go on awkward coffee dates to long-lasting soulmates, I've learned what actually works in love and what absolutely does not. This isn't advice from rom-coms or your best friend's wine pep talk. This is what I've seen, tracked, and studied over 3 decades of dating. Okay, when I started It's Just Lunch, I wasn't trying to be a matchmaker. I was trying to solve a problem that I had. Smart, successful women didn't have time to mess around with bad dates. I built the process, screening, coaching, and curating matches with real feedback after every date. And through it all, I started to see patterns. What kind of woman got second dates and third dates? What kind of man showed up emotionally available and not just looking for placeholders? The data didn't lie. Dating isn't just chemistry, it's strategy. So you know what I found really surprising was something I said earlier that, what does it take for a woman to get a second or third date? And it wasn't what initially I thought it was going to be. You automatically think super attractive women are going to go on second and third dates, but no, that wasn't it. It was so much about personality. It was amazing. So you could take a woman who is cute on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe she's a 6 or 7, and the men would tell me after the date, at first I thought she was cute, but by the end of the date, I thought she was just adorable. And it was because of her personality. That's what really made the date. And those were the people, they're bubbly, they're positive, and they're having fun on the date. And they're not thinking about the future like, will I marry this guy? Will I go on a trip with this guy? Will there be a future with this guy? Will I introduce him to my kids? They're not thinking about any of those things. All they're thinking about on that first date is information gathering and if they're having a good time. And then they go on a second date. And what are they doing there? They're doing the exact same thing. Did I have fun? Do I want to go on a third date? And guess what? The men are doing exactly the same thing. So, to build great relationships, you really have to have a couple of things. You have to have common values, chemistry, and communication. And common values, I see that more and more, especially as we're older and we've developed, in our 40s and 50s and 60s. Sometimes when we're in our 20s, we don't really know what our values are 100% yet, but by now we do. And some of the things that were really important to us in the 20s, we could kind of throw out the window now because it really doesn't matter maybe that he's exactly the same religion because we both already had kids and raised them the way we wanted to. So it's not going to be, a deal breaker that things in their 20s would be. So, common values, very important. Chemistry. Okay, I can't say enough about this one. If you don't have chemistry, you have a friendship. That's what it is. And does chemistry always come on the first date? No. Does it come on the second date? Sometimes. Does it come on the third date? Sometimes. After that, it's not coming. Let me just put it that way. It's not coming. As much as you thought she was attractive, you thought she was fun, there was just something missing. So 3 dates, that's it. When in doubt, go out. So first date, give him a second shot. The second date, it's going great, give him a third shot. No chemistry at that point, no, it's not gonna work and it's time to move on. We've got enough life experience at this point in our life, to know when to cut and when to move on. And the last thing I was talking about was, just great communication. Are you communicating well? Do the actions match up to what he or she says? If they say after a first date, oh, I have tickets for a concert Saturday night, would you like to go? And then you don't hear from them and you're waiting Saturday afternoon for something, guess what? The date's not happening. That's really poor communication. And if he's doing it, on the first date, it's only gonna get worse. And another thing to remember about your first couple of dates with anyone, whether you're a man or you're a woman, is they're gonna be on their best behavior ever. on the first couple of dates. It's not gonna get better month 2. Another important factor about dating, especially dating in our second act, 50s, 60s, is having realistic expectations. And as a dating coach and dating expert and doing this for over 30 years, I really try to manage people's expectations, and I'll give you a couple examples. So I'm very much about sending a message, they send a message, you send a message, they send a message. Let's get going on that date, because there's a Stanford study out there that I've been following for 22 years that says, and this is really crazy, that if after 5 days you haven't gone on a first date with this person, there's a 95% chance it's never happening. So just think about that. 5 days pass, you're not going out with this person ever. You're now a text buddy. Okay, let's talk about expectations. These phone calls or these text messages, when they go on and you're belaboring, just setting up the date. I'm like a go for the date kind of girl. You're going to have some kind of expectation. And I really want you going into dates with 0 expectations, no expectations whatsoever. So what can happen? High expectations. Maybe you chat with them on the phone, and instead of it being 10 minutes, it turns into an hour. And I'll give you an example of a client that I had a couple weeks ago, Sarah. So we're doing our coaching call and she's checking in with me, and I'm like, okay, so fill me in, tell me about your dates. And she said, oh, Michael is just great. And I said, okay, how many dates have you gone on so far? She goes, oh, none. We've been talking a lot though. And I said, Sarah, that's not a date. You've been talking a lot. She goes, I even called my friends and told them all about him. I think he's gonna be the one, like for my future. And I'm like, oh, no. He's not gonna be the one for the future unless you get yourself out on a real date. So high expectations, they're never gonna match up to a high expectation. Let's go the other way, low expectations. Low expectations, I'd say that's a little bit of negativity, but it's also, if you're talking to somebody on the phone, and let's say she's a little bit shy, maybe the phone is not her friend, and at the end of the call, everything looked great on Bumble when you looked at her, her photos, her profile, just so many things about her, but the phone call was kind of flat. What do most people do? End it right there. And I say, don't do that. And that's why, whenever you can, skip those phone calls and just get to the date, because you may be missing out on the person that is just meant for you, and they're just not good on the phone. So you've got to manage expectations. So relationships, they take time, right? That means you have to have time. Yeah, I get you're a CEO, I get you're a surgeon, I get you're a mom raising kids at home. But you know what? You have to prioritize what's important to you. Let's say you're 50. You've got another 30 or 40 good years in you. And when I look at longevity studies and blue zones, I read all about people who live the longest are people not that are getting 10,000 steps a day, not that are on the Mediterranean diet, but that they have a romantic partner in their life. So that is super important. So you need to prioritize your time. Mom, single moms out there that are divorced, hey, your ex-husband has the kids some days. Plan your dates for then. I don't care if you're a CEO. If you're calling me, you're going to have to listen and make some time and make this a priority. It's an hour out of your day. You have to eat lunch. You have time on the weekend for brunch. You have time on a Sunday afternoon, at 4 o'clock for a drink. Make the time, get your priorities straight. You're in your 50s or maybe in your 60s. You've probably made it in your career. It's probably as good as it's going to get. So let's work on the romantic partner together. Why do you need a strategy for dating? That sounds kind of businessy, right? My new book's out, and I'm just gonna say a couple things about it. There's 15 worksheets in it. And the very first worksheet in the book is about where's your head at. The very last one is you're gonna write a personal business plan for your love life. And people go, what? I'm gonna write what? This is about love, Andrea. This is about romance. No, you have to have a strategy. And it's a one-page worksheet you fill out. and I coach you through it through a QR code in the book. And it really makes you think, like, what are you willing to put into this? How much time are you going to put into this? What sites or apps are you going to use? What are you really looking for? And you're going to narrow it down to 3 things. And what are the most important factors going forward for you with dating? And you need to think about it. You need to have a strategy. And then in the book, there's also 166 strategies. Like, I'm not about psychobabble and fluff. I'm very businesslike and very direct. Well, my clients say I'm graciously direct, but I'm not your best friend and gonna say things like, oh, everything's wonderful, when it's obviously not. I wanna get you on the right path with the right strategy. So that's what I teach. Love doesn't come from luck, it comes from strategy. If you wanna date smarter, not harder, book a 15-minute strategy call with me and just click the link below in the description. We'll take a real look at what's working for you, what's blocking you, and how to meet high-quality people that are emotionally ready. Dating over 40 is not a dead end. It's a new beginning with way better tools and way better taste. Let's make your next chapter your best chapter yet.